Good evening YouTube and welcome to today's Tuesday night episode of Campervan Goodness. And in this episode we're going to be telling you the top 10 tools you didn't even know you needed for building your campervan. So we're going to count down the top 10 tools that you didn't know you needed for your campervan. They don't come in any particular order. You know, number 10 is not the best, number 1 is not the best, vice versa. These are just 10 tools that we have been using now and we couldn't possibly live without them. But most people don't even think that you might need them. Even this self-made tool is one of my most important campervan building tools that I own. So we'll come back to that one shortly. Number 1, a multimeter. A multimeter is massively important when installing your electrics. I do not think I could possibly put an electrical system into a campervan without using a multimeter. There are several videos across YouTube on how to use a multimeter, but even something like this, which was just a cheap one off Amazon, is really going to help you building your campervan. And not only that, it's also going to give you an accurate reading of how much voltage is in your battery. Because the cheap Chinese voltmeters that you get off eBay are wildly inaccurate, they do tend to be the same amount of voltage out all the time. So at least by using one of these, you know that if it's 0.2 of a volt out, you can then look at your voltmeter and know to add or take away 0.2 of a volt because you've checked it and had an accurate reading using your multimeter. So picking up a multimeter from, say, a cheap one off eBay will do the job perfectly fine, but you need a multimeter to build your van electrics. Number 2, a nibbler. If you're going to be cutting anything on the exterior of your van, a nibbler is by far the best way to cut that sheet metal. If you're cutting on the outside of your van using a grinder, you need to remember that grinder sparks are somewhere in the region of 2000 degrees and will etch into your paintwork and damage it. Using a nibbler, you get no sparks and it is a much better way to be cutting the panels on your van. If you want to see the nibbler in action, we do have a video of us installing campervan windows using this nibbler. You can get electric nibblers, ours runs on air, but if you don't have a compressor, you can just get a plug-in one that runs on a standard 13 amp plug. But a nibbler is by far the best way to be cutting into your van, especially if you are using it on the exterior of the van where the paintwork could get damaged. Number 3, window sucker jobbies. Now, we have managed for quite some time without these. If there's 2 of you, you can install a larger window without these, but with 1 of you, it is super difficult. And just having these so you can hold onto the window comfortably and put it up and lift it into place is going to make your life so much easier. And these are so cheap, it's silly not to have them. You can pick these up for 10 or 15 quid for a pair, and it's going to mean that even if you're just installing 1 window in your van, if it's a good sized van such as a Sprinter or a Crafter or a Transit which has got quite a large window to put in, these things are going to make your life so much easier, especially if you're working on your own. Clear. Number 4 is PPE. I can't stress enough how important PPE is, especially if you're grinding. I mentioned earlier those 2000 degree sparks. Them in the eye is not nice. Also, if you're sanding, especially sanding inside your van, wood dust particles in your lungs are not ideal, not in the slightest. So a decent respirator, or as a bare minimum, a good dust mask when you're sanding will help keep your lungs nice and healthy. A lot of the tools that we use are quite loud. I was always explained in science class that inside your ear is kind of like grass. And when the grass gets walked on too much, it flattens. Once it's flattened, it will not stand back up. You lose your hearing, it's not coming back without the use of things like hearing aids. Look after your ears, and a cheap set of ear defenders are again bare minimum some earplugs when you're using loud tools, especially again inside your van where the sound really reverberates inside the van and amplifies it and makes it even noisier. These guys are really going to help save your ears. You might look like a bit of a buffoon, but PPE is important. Number 5, thinners. This stuff comes in handy every single day. If you get Sikaflex on something, thinners will get it off. If you're painting something, you need thinners to prep the area. If you're putting solar panels onto your roof, you need to apply thinners to make sure it's clean so you get a good bond to the roof. We do use mechanical fixings as well, but Sikaflex also helps to seal all the holes and put the solar panel glands on the top You are going to need thinners to prep the area to make sure it's clean and completely grease free so it will stick. Thinners is an absolute must for a van build. Number 6, a magnetic tray. These things are brilliant, especially when you're doing something that has lots of nuts, bolts, screws or washers inside the van. You can literally put these any way you like. They can literally just magnet to the side of the van and you can chuck your bolts at it and you won't lose them. Losing nuts, bolts, screws and washers while you're rummaging around in the van that's generally full of rubbish because it's a small space is a pain in the backside. Get yourself a magnetic tray just so you can drop anything you like into there as long as it's magnetic, and hold on to it for safekeeping. Number 7, a spirit level. You can't use a spirit level in a van. Why not? Because if your van's parked on a slant then it won't give you a true reading and everything will be put in unlevel. So, let me explain. A spirit level is a perfect straight edge, which is going to come in handy a lot in your van build. Plus, if you wanted to use this spirit level for its primary purpose as a spirit level, there is a way that you can do this. So all you need to do is place your spirit level on the van floor, and wherever that bubble is sitting, make a datum point with a marker pen and mark either side of the bubble. You now know that that is the true level of the van on that day where it's parked then. So then you can then set about using that spirit level anywhere in your van to level things up, and it will be level with the floor. Obviously if you move your van, you're going to have to redo that because that could change. Number 8 is an endless supply of pencils. Pencils are going to disappear everywhere. You can have a pencil, you can put it there next to you, you will turn away, you will look back, and the pencil's gone. Pencils, pencils, pencils. Pencils, pens, whatever you've got, but make sure you've got an endless supply. You're probably best off getting a pack of about 100 and launching them across your van and wherever you're working, just so they're randomly scattered everywhere so you've always got one at any point, because pencils will disappear every single time you need one. Number 9 is a mastic gun, caulking gun, whatever you want to call it. A hand cranked one is perfectly fine. I've got an electric one because I'm lazy. When you're fitting windows, the adhesive is really, really thick and hard to squeeze out. And when you do lots of them, it plays havoc with my hands, hence me having a battery operated one. But you are going to use a mastic gun or a caulking gun, whatever you want to call it, a lot in your camper van build. Whether you are sikaflexing things on, whether you are sealing your bathroom, there is loads and loads of times where you are going to need some sort of mastic gun. We do also have a range of standard ones, but again, we don't use them anymore because I've jumped into the 21st century and got myself a battery operated one, which is much better to use. If you're going to splash out on a battery operated one, it does make life so much easier. You get a clean, consistent, straight bead all the time. But if you're only going to be building the one van and you don't think you're going to use it again, then you're probably better off just sticking with a hand cranked mastic gun. But you do need a mastic gun in your list of tools if you're going to be building a camper van. And finally, number 10. Number 10 is our homemade tool that we showed you at the beginning of the video, and this is a scribing tool. Now, you can go on eBay and buy scribing tools, and they are relatively cheap, but there is absolutely no need when this thing works just as well, and I'm going to show you how that works. So if you're trying to put anything against the side of a panel van with a curved side, you will notice that the side curves like this and the straight piece of ply comes in like this and it won't fit. So the gap at the widest point where your ply won't meet the wall, you measure that distance and maybe add around 10 mil, and then from this point you're going to drill a hole at that distance. You can then put a pen in that hole, and I'll show you how that magic works now. Your van wall is going to curl like so, and your piece of ply is only going to be able to come to here. So your ply is going to be stuck here. You can measure that distance and drop your pen in at that distance, and then this means when you push up your van wall and follow that shape, replicates that shape onto your piece of ply, so you can cut and then the ply will slide in nice and neat. So there's no need to be buying profiling tools off eBay when you can make your own out of a piece of wood with a point cut into it and a hole drilled through the middle. And there you have it, the 10 tools that you didn't know you needed in your camper van build. Over the last 3 years, these are the tools that have always been our go-to and tools that do commonly get overlooked when building your camper van. If you've enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing to the channel, where we will be releasing camper van content every single Tuesday at 8 PM sharp. If you've got a tool that you think I've missed or something that you couldn't have possibly built your van without, we'd love to hear about it in the comments. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. And remember, if in doubt, get the Sikaflex out and we will see you next Tuesday.